Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thoughtful Thursdays with Hope during Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Today's topic is going to be on stigma again, but we're talking about the stigma connected to children and mental health and what it's like for a parent who has a kid who has a mental health diagnosis and the stigma connected to even being tested, and what the stigma does to a parent's ability to feel like they're doing the right thing when it comes to their kid. Some of the stigmas that are connected to that is, I don't want to have my kid tested because they're going to have a file that's going to follow them all through school. And what if they get better and then they have this file to follow them? What happens if my family find out? I don't want people in my family. I don't want my friends. I don't want people to judge my kid. I don't want people to look at them different. I don't want people to look at me differently. If they get an evaluation, what does it say about me as a parent? Does it mean that I've done something wrong? It's all kinds of things that are connected to this idea that you have to get your kid tested. But what does this stigma do to your kid? Let's talk a little bit about that. So imagine that as a parent, we are making a decision not to get the services that our kids need and that we're seeing based off of the fact that this stigma exists. So then we have a kid who may be dealing with anxiety, maybe dealing with depression, maybe dealing with, a mood disorder, maybe dealing with, all types of different disorders and disabilities that are out here, and they have to suffer at school and many times in silence to know that they don't connect with their counterparts, knowing that they just feel different, knowing that there's an emotional struggle that they're having. But because of the adults around them and the stigma connected to getting the support that they need, they are losing out. So I'm here to encourage parents to get the support that's needed for your kids. It's hard, yes, to get a diagnosis. It's hard to hear a doctor or psychiatrist or someone say your child has autism. It's hard to hear someone say, well, they're a very anxious kid and they're dealing with anxiety. Yes, it can be hard, but at the same time, isn't it better to know that this is what's happening to them or with them than to not? To know and have even potentially that file means that in this file, it says that my kid has X, Y, and Z. So when they go from the next grade to the next grade or whatever's happening at school, someone will be there to support them because this is what it says is going on with them. It doesn't mean that there's a negative label. It doesn't mean that this label is going to get them negative support at all times. So I'm encouraging parents to take a step back. And in that moment, yes, take some time to process. If someone gives you bad news or news that you're not expecting, you have to process it. Take some time to process. What does this mean? What does this mean going forward? Now that I know, going forward, how can I be able to support to my child at home, in school, and in other environments? What can I offer them as opposed to putting my defenses up and saying, well, my child doesn't do this at home. My child doesn't do this, when in this place. Well, it's different when your child is in a structured environment versus a non-structured environment. We may think our homes are structured, but they may not be as structured as they are when they're in school. So, in school, if the teacher's saying so on and so on is doing X, Y, and Z, and you're like, they don't do this at home, they may not, because the structure is different, because your ability to handle them one-on-one is different. Our tolerances are different. So we do our kids a disservice to get connected to the stigma, which is all the negative stuff that goes with it, than we do if we say, all right, now what do I do? First, I take the time, I process. There's support groups out here. There are, like I said, there are therapists. There's all of these things that will support you as a parent. But you also want to take the time so that your kid can understand and finally feel like, whew, sometimes, that to know that, yes, I've been dealing with something and now somebody's acknowledging it. Sit down and explain to them what that diagnosis was. What does it mean? What are their responsibilities as a kid to take care of it? And what are your responsibilities as an adult? And what are our responsibilities together to get through this, to work through this? Because what we do know is, and history has told us, research has shown us, that if kids don't get the support when they're young or as kids, they grow up and be unproductive adults as well. And so because they've dealt with things over time, they don't just necessarily go away. So we want to make sure that we're getting them all the support that they need. How do you do that? You go to their pediatrician. You say, my child is having X, Y, and Z, and what do you think? What are your thoughts? You can do that. You can seek out a psychiatrist to get some psychiatric support. Seek out a therapist. You can seek out the behavior person at your school, at your kid's school, and say, hey, I don't know what to do. I need the resources. And then once you get the diagnosis, like I said, ask for the support systems that go along with that. But, I just want to encourage people to not have a stigma related to it, because our kids are suffering because we are making decisions as adults through our own pain to hold them back, which again, is not always conscious, and we're not always aware that that's what we're doing. But we're also not thinking about what it feels like to be a kid who is struggling in a school environment, in a home environment, anywhere, and no one will get them support that they need because of their own personal things and because of the stigma that goes along with it, or because people are going to think I'm a bad parent because my kid has this or is going through this. But, and instead of being the strong and coming back and saying, I'm going to get the support, and it's okay for me to get the support that I need for my kids. So, like I said, I'm here this month doing Mental Health Awareness Month to help us to go from mental illness to mental wellness and understand what that looks like. And so on all levels, we want to be mentally well as adults and as kids. And so we as adults have to support our kids and get them where they need to be. And so this is our topic this week, kids. Leave your questions, leave your comments under this video, and I'll address them. We'll do the best that we can. But I'm encouraging us, again, stamp out the stigma when it comes to mental health, period, but especially when it comes to our kids, and knowing that that doesn't make you a bad parent and it doesn't make anything wrong with you if your kid is having something going on, but encourage them